The one thing everybody's talking about, not just here, I actually talked to somebody in another state, is development standards. And just give people like the elevator pitch on what that means, because that phrase has been thrown around a lot. What does it mean to have development standards?
Development standards means there are certain things that you must do in order to develop a piece of property. In Anderson County, you have zoning, and that's spelled out. In parts of the county that you don't have zoning, you still have development standards. They say you have to be X feet from a stream. You have to do buffering, different things that you have to do in order to be given permission to develop that property. That's basically what it is. And in our case, we also have stormwater that we enforce. So those are things you have to do. Doesn't matter whether you're in a zoned area or not. But it is interesting that the Shirley Store Precinct just voted to have a referendum to zone. So that should be interesting. That would be the first one in about a year and a half. And I know that there are petitions in other parts of the county for zoning, but they have to get the required number of signatures and be certified by voter registration that they are true and accurate. And I know Shirley Store has already been certified accurate. So they'll have an election in that precinct, and so we will see what happens there.
And that's something that's just started to catch on. People realize they can do it, and they can do it pretty fast if they have everything.
You can do it very fast if you have an organized group, and we while we cannot advocate against or for, we can go in and describe what will happen, how you do it, what are the steps, and all of that. The last one, like I said, a year and a half ago, was up on the lake, up around Double Springs area, up in that area. So I think you're going to see more and more of that.
But it's really the only way communities can protect what's being built around them, right?
Well, it is one of the ways, but we have development standards on places that aren't zoned. But you could say in a way that's baby zoning. It's not as full tilt. But if something says single family residential, well, that's what's going in that zone, single family residential. So yes, there's more protection if you're in a zoned area. It just is.
And since last time we talked, county council's approved bringing in a consultant to help rewrite the development standards in ways that everybody can understand them, like every citizen and every developer.
Every citizen, put them in one place. They're also going to be updating rules and regulations and bringing best practices to us. They've done this in many places, so they're bringing a whole lot of expertise and a whole lot of different partners to the table on this. We had meetings last week with individual council members and council members two at a time to just talk to the consultant about what they saw, what they wanted, what they thought. We also had a number of stakeholders, just people from various parts of the community, not affiliated with any government, from all walks of life, to come in and talk to them. Now, there'll be a whole lot more of this that will take place because you're looking at a 2-year process. That doesn't mean that changes won't be made, because if they see something that they can fix now, they will certainly suggest that. But the goal is to have a land use development ordinance book, and it will be neat, clean, in one place with illustrations. So we think that's going to be an improvement.
County Council, going all the way back to 2011 when the Parkway was being planned, that's sort of the thing now, that the Parkway always got special consideration. But the fact that the city's voting to start a development out there, the county can't do anything about it, right?
No, under state law, if they follow the rules for annexation as outlined by the state, then they can annex that property.
But at the time when Francis Crowder and others were planning that, they talked to property owners out there, and they gave them at least
talked to all the property owners out there and had a series of meetings and discussed that this is what it was going to be. The county council voted that the only way it could be changed by the county was with a supermajority, which is not 4 votes, it's 5 votes to do any change on the Parkway. And that's the way that we hoped it would be. We are responsible for the maintenance of the Parkway. The county is. We do that. When you see them out cutting grass, when we're working over there at Francis Crowder Park, that's the county. So, I mean, that was a special place, and it needs to remain a special place.
And one of the council members just wrote something asking them to reconsider. And the people ask this question, but I guess it's finances. The county can't afford to just buy that property and make a park or something. It's too expensive, right?
No, we can't afford to buy that property.
I mean, ideally, people could get together and put a park in out there or something, but That land's pretty pricey, especially as you get closer to Concord Road, where everybody's really concerned.
It's very pricey.
Speaking of pricey, and although it's not been as expensive, I think, as maybe originally thought, the construction here at the historic courthouse goes on. And you said this may go on through the end of the year?
Oh, it will absolutely go on. I mean, where we're sitting right now, if the camera, you'll see somebody walk by, and we're on, in essence, the third story, and you'll see somebody walk by. Today, they're not using jackhammers, but they have to replace the mortar and all the bricks. And so that it is painstaking, tedious work, but you have to do it.
There was a lot of work that needed to be done on this building, right?
A tremendous amount of work that needed to be done on this building. So the clock tower's not going to fall now, and we're real happy about that. Especially coming up on the 200th anniversary of Anderson County. You don't want to celebrate by the clock tower falling.
Yeah, that's not far away, right?
No, it's not far away at all.
The elephant pen with that grass on it turns out to be a favorite place for people to hang out.
And I'm very happy about that. We have never found anything that would add to the city from all the proposals that we've seen that would add. We've seen some that would detract. So right now, unless they want to move the Eiffel Tower or something like that there, it's working out very well. It's a public green space. Not mad about it at all.
And the soiree really took advantage of it for kids.
They did.
You see a lot of people out there.
And you see people out there laying on the grass and reading books, and you see lots of people out there walking their dogs. So there's usually something going on there all the time. We know most of the people who walk their dogs down there because they're real nice. And
What would it take for somebody to come in to go in there that would be?
it would have to be something that would change the whole feel and vibration of the city. It would have to be, because they're not going to make that again. And after all the money that we've spent here, and this thing's been here since 1826, we're not moving. I mean, the county, not me. So, you know, it would have to be something really good. And like I said, we've seen a lot of stuff, and none of it popped. None of it popped.
And speaking of history, it's the first time the county has owned all the property from.
Just like it was originally planned, we now have it all back under the citizens of Anderson County's control.
And the other thing council has done since last time we met was they continue to work with local groups in an effort to improve the homeless challenge. This past month, the county agreed for code enforcement to work with Hope Missions on this issue. How will that work?
Well, basically what it is, it helps us with population and where they are. And while we're enforcing codes, cleaning up, making sure everybody's healthy and safe, but also abiding by all the laws, that we can connect them with some of the services that Hope Missions provides. Most people think the only thing that Hope Missions does is provide breakfast. That may be the smallest thing they do, because they have job training opportunities, they help you find houses, they help you get all of your missing medical records, your social security number, any funds that you are legitimately entitled to, they will help you get those. And if you can't be placed in a house, they'll try to find assistance for you where you can find some place to get off the street.
And eventually they're going to have that transitional housing at the old mill site over there?
Absolutely. We're working very hard on that.
One of the things that you and I talk about a lot is companies come and companies go. When we lost Orion Rugs is ending their rug manufacturing, although they're going to continue the yarn business. They said it was doing pretty well. That's a long-time employer in Anderson County, and just another reminder why you have to keep chasing economic development.
One of the first projects I ever worked on was that on Orion Rugs. One of the funny things, if you see that water tank out there, that water tank is owned, half of it's owned by Orion Rugs, and the other half is owned by the water company, because we put those two together so Orion would have a good supply of water, but the water company could also benefit. So yes, but that's what people say, well, we have enough jobs. But you never know when somebody's going to close up. At one time, everybody in Anderson that wanted a job at the textile mill could get a job. But they all went away. Every last one of them went away. And now you have this closing, and you're always going to have that. Just because you're there doesn't mean that you're going to stay there forever. Technology changes, markets change, all of this stuff changes. So you're always trying to make sure that you have enough jobs for the people in the community, but you also want to make sure that you have a varied economy, because you don't want all of your eggs in one basket, because that never, ever works. And Anderson County has a solid manufacturing base, and that manufacturing base is going to continue to grow. We have some very exciting things now that pay lots of money that will allow people to stay here and to thrive here and to buy a house, buy a car, take care of their kids. That's the whole goal. That's it in a nutshell. And people say, well, you do fee in lieu of deals. Well, the reason you do fee in lieu of deals, in the Constitution of 1898, they put the thing so high for industry to keep industry out, so they'd have people to work on the farm. This is true. I'm not making this up. So in order to be competitive, we do fee deals. We make a lot of money off of fee deals. Lots of times that land was either in agricultural use, not being used for agricultural use, but in agricultural use. So we always increase the amount of money that's coming into the county. But it also, and it's always been this council's thing, it's not to gouge companies, where their idea is to get the jobs so those people can prosper, not to make the county fat and rich, but to make sure that there are enough good jobs for people in the county that they can go get those jobs here. And those people that went to high school here and those people who went to college here can stay here if they want. And naturally, you're always going to have some that move somewhere else. But it's always amazing to me how many of them come back.
And y'all intentionally spread the manufacturing over a lot of different fields of one, like if automotive went under, let's say BMW left Greer.
If that happened, you got to have something else to do it. And that's what we look for, different things that will fit in our area. And also to take advantage of the opportunities that Clemson provides and the opportunities that AU provides. They just had their first graduating engineering class. All of this works. It's not we're just going to do this and just going to do this. It's all of a set piece.
And you were saying y'all were working on some other potential announcements. You got anything close or?
Yeah, we've got several that are real close that are different than things we've had here before.
So the economy's pretty good. There are people still looking to come and open places.
Yes, there are people still looking to come here.
The county recently opened a new mental health office, nice location, nice building, and they instituted the digital signature for probate and mental health cases. Why is it important to have a good facility like this, and why is it important to have that digital signature?
Well, it's very important because what it allowed, in the past, you had to go through a very, very long process to do this, to get somebody the care that they needed. I mean, by that time, they could have committed suicide, they have run away, or something like this. This speeds up the process so that people can get care as quick as humanly possible. And we love the new mental health facility. The director out there she is a ball of fire and has a big caring heart. And we were happy just to help her with little things to help her realize her dream.
It's been a long time coming to get an upgraded mental health facility
Absolutely it has, and she pulled it off.
The South Carolina Senate recently sent a bill to the House that does not include any earmarks. How could that eventually affect the county or the small towns and cities around here? I think there's a misunderstanding about earmarks.
Well, they quit calling them earmarks. They called them directed spending. But the House and Senate agreed that they weren't going to do that. Directed spending. That's money that can go for special one-off projects. Well, what have you done with that? Well, let's see, we just opened up the airport playground. Thanks to Senator Cash, we were able to do that. Most of the improvements at Dolly Cooper Park have been funded with earmarks. Every town has benefited from earmarks. That money is going somewhere. It is our job to make sure it comes to Anderson County. But this year, there are not going to be any earmarks. And so nobody's going to get any of that. They're talking about the possibility of creating a competitive grants program, but that's not going to happen this year. And we had a whole lot of requests in to House and Senate members. And until that happened, I think we were in pretty good shape to get all of them. Will that impact the county budget? Yes, it will.
Talking to the mayors around the county, though, they were talking about how important that had been for their infrastructure, too. It's been really important.
Oh, yeah, it has. For every
This is not
town.
money for pork barrels, they used to say, projects. This is
No. Did some people use it for pork? Every one we ever got, you can go touch it and play on it or flush it or something like that.
like you mentioned the parks. Where else could that source of revenue come from? I know there's always been talk of hospitality tax. That would replace it, but I've got no plans for that now, right?
No plans for that right now. What we do have is the accommodations tax, a tax on hotel rooms. And as fast as we're getting new hotels, that pot is beginning to grow. And we're finally beginning to see a return on our attempt to make Airbnbs pay their fair share of taxes. So that's coming along. Actually, that's actually sped up a little bit because the hotels see that as unfair competition because it was unfair competition. So hopefully we've leveled that playing field.
That's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I've been working on that for years.
Yes, and it's in play now.
The county is also planning to put forth a referendum in November to ask citizens for a 1 penny tax for roads.
Yes.
Got the commission in place. The roads list is ready. When will that be?
It will be on the next agenda because the way that works, the county has to appoint 3 members. And then within 30 days, the city has to pick 3 members. But that will be on the next council agenda to select those committee members.
And from there, you have to actually write the referendum.
Yeah, but it's going to be real simple. It will be a penny sales tax that will be used exclusively for roads and bridges and nothing else. And it will not be a tax on food. And it will raise around $37 million a year. And it will only last for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, it can only happen if the people vote for it again. It's not automatic because, people always say, well, I've never seen anybody lower taxes. Well, by law, this ends in 7 years. That's it. Unless there's another referendum and people vote for it again.
But we've talked about this forever, but there's a $350 million backlog in road work needing to be done.
Yeah, but not just here. Just about every county in the state of South Carolina.
Unfortunately, when you drive across in other states, you don't see it as much.
No, because they have a different road formula. Here we have city roads, we've got county roads, we've got state roads, we got roads that are dictated what you can do by the federal government. It's a hodgepodge. You go to Georgia, smooth sailing.
North Carolina,
smooth sailing.
Well, and some good news, the county announced earlier this month that Kool and the Gang is going to headline Celebrate Anderson finally.
Yes.
About time we had a non-country act. What kind of feedback are y'all getting about this big announcement? Something
positive.
different?
Very, very, very positive. And we're excited about that. And, we've done country for a long time, so it was time to change it up. And so far, it's just been really good. A lot of people excited. And so we're happy about that. That's going to be good.
Green Pond just hosted another Bassmaster event. It's becoming old hat out there. Any other news coming from Green Pond?
This was a smashing success this weekend. The crowds were tremendous. And the thing I liked the best, it was on Fox Sports FS1 for 28 hours. So you turn on FS1 and you're looking at Lake Hartwell. That's what you did for all that time. It was on national television, not streaming, on national television. And those announcers continuing to say, this is the premier bass facility in the country, didn't hurt one bit. But we had great crowds. Coming up is the college tournament, and I really love the college tournament because we're going to get a whole lot of colleges and all those people are going to come here, and it's really going to be great. We have a lot of those fishermen who fished the tournament this weekend and are staying here this week doing other things. So it was a great success. The soiree was a great success that was going on this weekend too. Then Ava had their festival that was going on, and then everybody except me and you went to see the Savannah Bananas. So it was quite a lot to do in Anderson County over the weekend, and all of those events were great.
April and October, everything's slammed. But it is important that the Bassmaster was strategic not to, since it was on television, not to put it up against the Masters or not. They chose a weekend that
if you like fishing, we were it.
Out at Green Pond, is there any other talk about entertainment in the amphitheater? Is all the electronics in place for that?
No, we're still working through that. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting on that this morning about some lighting for the amphitheater and speakers and some new television cameras, but we talked about that early this morning. But it's progressing.
Really great potential with that view and that stage there. You could build a little.
If you watch Channel 4, they can take shots from Green Pond now, but they're not perfect shots. So we're going to put another camera and just give them more opportunities, or anybody really opportunities to see different views of Green Pond.
Grab a feed from there.
Yep.
Well, that'd be handy. A lot of people would like to see that.
Yes.
See what's going on out there.
I was reading this thing today that there's in Finland, I think, or Norway or something, where they have a camera on a moose and people watch it for hours on end.
Well, they watch like a giraffe. Well, at one point, you're talking about having a courthouse cam so we could see the square all the time.
Yeah, and I still want to do that. I still want to do that.
Keep that
but
in your
but I
to-do.
got to make sure that we get the tower completed before we put up
A
that.
couple of years ago, the county did a study on all the parks. After that evaluation, what's the current state of maintenance and what else needs to be done?
We still have a lot more to do on that, a whole lot more to do on that. But we're catching up and we're making progress on there. Hurricane Springs ought to be put back here pretty quickly. We're adding more stuff at Dolly Cooper. The airport playground's there. Wellington's a place that I want to put a lot of emphasis in. Some of the other parks, some of the parks that aren't as large. And so we were talking about that. We were talking about that today because we've got to find a place to plant an elm tree for the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. We're trying to find a safe place to go plant that tree. It hadn't come to us yet, but we're going to plant a tree, and all the other counties are going to plant a tree for that. With all the stuff that was going on in Anderson County last week, the craft market, Sharon Nicomito's craft market, it was slammed. You had to turn sideways to get in there, and that was really great.
There's even a little produce there.
There was a little, and there were squash pickles there, which I happened to get.
You got your pickles, and also
got
they had a
my
lot of plants. I noticed.
A lot of plants.
And you mentioned Dolly Cooper. This is the first time the Saluda River Rally and Rhythm on the River will be a single event.
Yep.
Why was it made a decision to do it all at once?
Well, because it will be more activity on one day, and the county doesn't have to mobilize 2 times, and we're taking over more and more of doing it, because they had a wonderful citizens group who's still going to be involved. But this way, with our trained event personnel, we can set up and do that one day and take care of the river people and take care of the activities up on the hill. But I think also there'll be a relationship between the two. You can get out of the water and go up there and do something else, go listen to music. I think it's going to be great. I think it really is. And I kind of look at that as our Celebrate Anderson over there. So that's kind of what that is.
It draws people from all over too. That's the
It
other thing.
does. I mean, if you swim across the river, you can Greenville.
Any other news from the Saluda River? Any updates on Piedmont Park?
No, we're still going through the process on that, but that hasn't slowed down any. People in Piedmont have been doing a whole lot of work over there, cleaning up a lot of stuff. So that's going to be great, but we're working on that now. Things don't go as fast as I want them to sometimes.
How about the Lower Mill property at Pelzer?
Still working on that. We've got a few things, governmental things that we have to do to get through, not us holding it up, and then we will have possession of that. But you will know that we've gone over there and did a massive cleanup.
Yep, I've heard people talking about the cleanup.
And so we did that. And so we're continuing that effort. We're working on a historic preservation grant, the big mill office up there. We're working on that so we can stabilize it. And somebody one day is going to do something fantastic with that, because if you saw in Greenville County, about 10 miles from Pelzer, it's where they're building that zillion-dollar golf course that cost $250,000 to join. Stuff's happening right there.
And so, and that river property there is just prime for the
Yes.
future. And that area will really be transformed if something big comes in there too.
Yes, it will.
And I guess that kind of reminds me of the rest of the mill sites around the county. I guess still working to this. Where are we at on Equinox?
Equinox still have some more stuff we have to jump through, but Chicola Mill's coming along really, really good. So we're almost ready to start doing work down there.
And what are the plans for Christmas this year?
Well, it's growing. It's in the greenhouse, in the world's largest greenhouse, and it's growing.
Are we still on the 5-year plan to reach the Rockefeller Plaza height?
Either reach Rockefeller or surpass it. And I get mad they don't light it up, Rockefeller Center. They need to light it up earlier.